There is a monster that cannot be satiated. There is a monster whose hunger knows no bounds, whose thirst for flesh runs endlessly. Not you!
Oh!
There is a monster that can reduce the entire ecosystem around it to a graveyard of decaying flesh. And that monster is Devil Joe.
And then there's the monster that eats Devil Joe for a light snack if he's peckish.
Oh, it's time to
Release the Kraken!
The oceans of the Monster Hunter world are vast, stretching across the horizon in glistening, brilliant blue. But beneath the surface, deep down, oh, so deep down, where light can no longer penetrate, where darkness, cold, and pressure form an oppressive triumvirate, there are creatures dwelling in the depths. Gargantuan, terrifying beasts that defy creation and defy all sense of reality. These Cthulhu spawn oft keep to themselves and out of the way, but sometimes one of the worst of them all cannot satiate his endless hunger, and he comes a-searching, and he comes to the surface. Finding an underwater cave entrance, he will pull his gargantuan yet malleable body inside, slither along its tunnels, and emerge in a pool in a cavern. A new cave to call home to make his den. He'll wander to its mouth, equally at home on the land as in the sea, and survey his new empire. No life is safe, no creature will be spared, for all will come to know the belly of the beast. The Wyvern's end, his nest is known as, and for good reason. It is lined in grim macabre with the bones of his victims. From skulls to shoulder blades to kneecaps and toe bones, the entire floor, wall, and ceiling is a ghastly monument to his gluttony, glowing softly in beautiful bioluminescence. One does not wander in here and make it out alive. The crunch underfoot, the last sound you will ever hear, barring the crunch of your own bones as you meet your fate. So what creature, a true apex predator, has the capacity to hunt in such volume, to quite literally live on a bed of bones? Introducing Nakarkos. This monster swims through bones like other monsters do water or sand. He is such an unstoppable hunting, devouring force that he can clear his entire environment with such a speed to instantly turn his new home into a sea of bones. I mean, if that's not a good starting point for something badass, I don't know what is. It also admittedly doesn't hurt his case that you can essentially describe him with one word.
Tentacles! Tentacles! Tentacles!
Nakarkos, then, is a monstrous cephalopod. Your cuttlefish, your squid, your octopi, and cephalopods are amazing. They are insanely intelligent, the most intelligent of the invertebrates, some capable of solving problems. Nakarkos himself is devilishly clever. He is an elder dragon after all, though technically classified as one because the researchers were like, "The fuck's this? The fuck is that? Where do we, what the, what?
I don't know. Elder Dragon? Elder Dragon, right? I mean, it's literally eating us, Tim. Elder Dragon!
I'm pretty sure that's how it went down. Cephalopods have a bag of tricks so deep that Mary Poppins gets jealous. Some of them then able to change the colour of their skin, the texture, and even their shape to perfectly blend into the environment. Some cuttlefish can generate a light show rippling down their skin with masterful control. This actually can hypnotize prey into just sitting there and accepting their fate. Nakarkos then has one hell of a repertoire of tricks himself. He is a big fan of pigment change too, with a little bit of bioluminescence, as you'll see throughout the fight. Deep blue skin. He is really quite a pretty creature. In a kind of, well, also known as corpse dragon, bone-wearing way, he will put the skulls of other animals on the tips of his tentacles so people think that they're his heads, and it's why he was first thought to be two-headed. That's quite the little strategy there. In fact, it's incredibly rare to even see his face. You have to force him into a life-threatening situation to get him to reveal himself. Now, he sits high on the food chain in the ocean with no known predators except the Cadeus, a huge whale-like creature, so the whale eating the big squid, it kind of fits real nice. But on land, he's essentially unchallenged. You have to get to almost Fatalis level before he finds a proper, let's say, fight, because Nakarkos is not really too into fighting. He's more into dominating, because his hunting adaptations and strategy is as near perfect as you could want. His secret weapon is the ability to produce great gouts of sticky blue mucus. This is his entire shtick. It's like sticky, like his shtick is sticky mucus. So, in the very rare occasions where Nakarkos will come on land and make a wyvern's end nest, he will use this to deadly effect. He will roam far afield looking for any life to consume. You see, his hunger is paramount. He looks at Devil Joe's unstoppable thirst for flesh and goes, "That's cute," and he consumes all with his mouth straight from hell. Look at that thing, a sharp beak like an octopus that can tear into flesh effortlessly, fleshy appendages down his gullet, and just, imagine like climbing in there. I can't, oh no. And he does not stop. He essentially lives by the words,
"If it bleeds, we can kill it."
And he will eat many ecosystems into extinction, leaving the one closest to his nest for last, allowing food by his door to thrive for as long as possible. So why is this mucus so effective? Why does it let him completely dominate and eat the likes of Glavenus, Mr. Flameblade Tail, things like Diablos and Rathalos, even Shen Garen, a crab as tall as mountains? There is very little he cannot easily snatch and devour. Well, you know those Velcro suits that you can wear and throw yourself at a Velcro wall? Well, when Nakarkos covers you in the blue goo, you are essentially wearing a Velcro suit, and the entire environment around you is now the wall. You brush against a tree, you're stuck. You take a step, your foot is now fastened to the floor. He slowly wraps his tentacles around you, also covered in the sticky goo, very similar to how a cuttlefish hunts, actually, and will drag you back to his nest. He will then eat you alive, and you can't even scream because the mucus has more than likely essentially fused your jaw shut. So doesn't that sound like a barrel of laughs? Oh! But it doesn't stop there. You see, Nakarkos' body is actually very weak. It's squishy, as you would expect from a hugely deep-sea squid-like creature. But he has a solution for this, because his mucus essentially tempers bone, prevents corrosion, keeps them together. He creates this grim artistry across his body, fastening himself a bone suit of armor that protects him from all would-be aggressors, leading to his tentacles then that feature the skulls of his prey atop them. And this isn't just a clever strategy to throw off, well, everything. No, Nakarkos learns. Nakarkos can mimic. So Nakarkos one day came across an Uragan and went, "Hi," and Uragan was like, "Here comes the Crimson Gem." Nakarkos was like, "Damn, you annoying and ugly." But after eating him, he was like, The chin on an Uragan, this powerful jaw, it can crack into the ground, tearing bone and rock asunder alike. If I attach an Uragan jaw to the end of my tentacle, I now have a slammy chin bone I can use in combat. That's what I'm gonna do. And indeed, during the fight, Nakarkos will switch to an Uragan chin tentacle and come battering at you with it with earthquake-inducing blows to the ground. But that's not all. He can also include a glavenous tail on the end of his tentacle, that burning sword. He can use the part of a Lagiacrus that lets it channel thunder in order to shock his enemies. And lastly, also the pounder of a Brachydios, letting him cause explosions. How impressive is Nakarkos? A predator with such size, speed, and special weaponry that lets it crawl onto land as a primarily sea creature, devour everything for miles around with one of the most potent biological weapons ever seen, and the intelligence to mimic the monsters it eats' unique abilities by attaching their deceased bones to the ends of its tentacles and flailing them around in a dance of destruction. Like... His sticky blue mucus then is represented in the fight. He can apply it to hunters, and then you are covered in this deep blue. If you roll while it is on you, you will get covered in the bones on the floor as they adhesive themselves all over your body, preventing you from moving or really doing much of anything as you become boned blighted. So that's pretty damn awesome. And it puts the guild into a state of emergency. Whenever an Nakarkos is sighted in the area, all is ground to a halt, and the very best hunters from all around are called to put it down. Very often, most of these hunters, despite their skill, experience, and fame, are never seen from again. And the thing is, Nakarkos isn't like Devil Joe in terms of, you know, hunger must feed, so hungry. No, it just really fucking likes food. It's just a greedy bastard. It just enjoys eating, so it doesn't stop. It's why it does have the self-control to allow the immediate area to still flourish, so it has a living larder, but it just really likes a good bit of chowing down, and I kind of like that that's its main driving force. But we've not really heard the end of this tale, because there's another reason the Hunters Guild is so deathly afraid of an Nakarkos, not just because of massive ecological imbalance. You see, Nakarkos has a uncanny dragon element, like a lot of elder dragons do, but he has it produced in spades within his body, such that he can fire it in huge blasting beams from his tentacles, and indeed his mouth for his signature most powerful attack, that he fires essentially a cannon of pure energy, decimating and disintegrating all in his path. He starts charging this when pushed far, when he gets angry, when the soft teal glow turns a stark crimson and red electricity crackles throughout his body, his head raising up from being sunk into his bony home. He will stop at nothing to annihilate these would-be invaders. And this is not just a powerful weapon. It's essentially a natural orbital defense cannon, because what Nakarkos will do, the crafty son of a bitch, is see airships flying overhead filled with plump, ripe humans, and it's like, oh, I could go for some of those right now. I know I just ate a glavenus, but oh, it's treat day. It will aim its dragon beam into the sky and cleave the airship in half, sending it crashing down to the ground, and then will go collect its tasty reward. Is that not quite terrifying? Nakarkos thinks, Nakarkos understands, and Nakarkos will not be stopped. He is then, as you might imagine, a superb swimmer. He can fire jets of water to get around pretty quickly. He'll burrow under the ground into his bony pile and come bursting up for surprise attacks. He's not actually that in control of his dragon element. It's very unstable, which is why it blasts out in such large beams. In fact, it's so unstable it can damage himself, especially the huge mouth beam. It's a very much last resort type move. They're incredibly lone animals, only really meeting another of its kind in order to breed, and what I do like about them, which compounds with that they're just greedy, they're not really that aggressive. They want to hunt constantly, sure, because, yeah, they like eating, but there's no real malice, there's no evil in the eyes, there's no, all before me must die savagery that a lot of the more powerful creatures in Monster Hunter tend to possess. He's just so unchallenged and knows what he wants from his life that, damn him, he's a strong, independent squid monster, and he's beautiful. The fight then itself, actually killing him, it's not great, and it's really a shame. He's very slow, he's very flaily, he's easy to avoid, he's a huge health tank that you just gotta slowly whittle on. Eventually you can stagger him, run up his back, and either attack his soft core or mine it if you feel like it, and it looks like a prismatic pearl, and it's really quite cool, but yeah, it's... Though I will admit, his visuals, his first time experience, much like Zeno, is simply unforgettable. It feels epic the first time, it feels fun the first time. He just gets very dull to farm very quick when you start to realize exactly what's going on, which yes applies to most monsters, but very quick to Nakarkos for what amounted to, well, a final boss. Though when he does enrage, when he gets proper right mad, and everything darkens and the cavern itself lights up in this glowing blue, and then it just coats the area and the atmosphere becomes electric. The first time I saw this, it was intense. I could feel my heart beat. It was suddenly turned up to 11. It was such a cool moment. In terms of the first time experiencing and fighting him, he's one I would have to very seriously consider for my top spot. So that's Nakarkos then, a two-headed undead dragon that was revealed to be a giant squid with such an effective hunting method that he can eat an entire ecosystem and then some to extinction because he's a greedy sod with the power to shoot dragon lasers so intense he can cut down airships from the sky on a bad day. Oh, Nakarkos. Oh, and yeah, of course, nicking other monsters' abilities by attaching their bones to his tentacles. Yeah, not bad. In terms of Monster Hunter World then, I think Nakarkos has a real place. He honestly kind of works as an animal, I really do think so. Maybe the lasers toned back a little, but I think he would be perfect for a siege mode. Imagine an Nakarkos comes swimming over to the new world, and now that we've got rid of Kulve, made her retreat, or even killed her by this point, he comes burrowing into the caverns of El Dorado, and sees, you know what, this is a perfect place for a Wyvern's end. I know the obvious thing is to be like, put him in the Vale, because it's bony, and he lives in bones, and yeah, and on the surface that does make sense, but think about it, he doesn't want his immediate environment to be devoid of life. It's not actually an ideal location for an Nakarkos to thrive, but a central hidden cavern, maybe even a golden Nakarkos, we fight it down as it progresses through the lair. It's a serious threat, it will wipe out life on the new world, we have to stop it. It's essentially converted the caverns of El Dorado into this blue mucus bone Muriel, and has changed the entire tone of the place, with the gold mingling in with the decay. It would be a weird contrast, and eventually we get him to the final fight and actually bring him down. Nakarkos, I think, is a monster that got shafted by the limitations of the device we had to fight it on, and I think in World you could do some seriously special stuff, and I think he'd make a perfect big returning event. Oh, and wouldn't you like to watch some people get tentacled? I mean, no, not me either. Obviously. Like if you've enjoyed this then, everyone, and subscribe for more. My name has been Josh. I adore making these. I love talking about this game, its creatures, and its world. Let me know who you'd like next. I'm thinking a certain praying mantis might be cool, but yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. I really did. Please share it around if you found yourself to be somewhat entertained. A lot goes into these, and it really is appreciated, especially right now in YouTube's, let's say, unstable climate. A goodbye.